All right, it is 8:01. I am going to introduce Shaun. Blue Orchid Marketing is one of our sponsors this year, and we're so glad to have them. They've brought a lot of valuable information to the table. So if you don't know Shaun from being around the trade show circuit, he is the owner of Blue Orchid Marketing, which is a 23-year-old digital marketing agency that's focused on podiatry, and it's the oldest in the country. They work with hundreds of podiatrists across the country, so they understand the ins and outs of podiatry and how to promote your services. Shaun took over the business about 2.5 years ago and is focused on innovation. So he continues to invest in new technology and personnel to improve their offerings and think outside the box. Before Blue Orchid, Shaun spent over a decade as a TV writer and executive producer in Hollywood. So custom content and grabbing attention for Blue Orchid marketing clients is definitely his strong suit. All right, with that, Shaun, thank you for being here.
Thank you. That's quite an introduction. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Are you ready to take it away?
I'm ready to take it away, Anne. Thank you. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to How to Market Your Fill in the Blank. Tonight, we'll be highlighting some of the ways that you can market your practice, whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for years. If you're promoting a new DPM or a new technology, and also identifying some tips for how to attract your ideal patient. Whether you want to clip a zillion ingrown toenails, see more shockwave patients, or perhaps start marketing after years of relying on word of mouth endorsements to grow. So this will be pretty high level, so please feel free to ask questions during our Q&A or follow up with me after tonight. Let's get into it. Okay, so I thought we'd kick things off with a quote. If you want immediate results for your business's digital marketing presence and financial growth, then Blue Orchid Marketing is your marketing team. I highly recommend Blue Orchid Marketing. That's from Rita R. and Dr. Smith. Obviously, it could have started with a more generic About Us slide touting that we've been an industry leader for 23 years. Here are the services we provide, all of which is important, obviously, but instead, you can kind of get a sense for how an endorsement from someone just like you can do a lot of the selling for you. It feels more authentic, it's believable, it's less salesy for us and probably more hopefully enjoyable for you. Anyway, we'll cover the importance of reviews a bit later, but first let's talk about the importance of marketing. I'm always amazed when DPMs ask me on the conference circuit, do I really need a website? Or I already have a successful practice. Do I really need marketing? First of all, the answer is a resounding, unequivocal, yeah, you do. But to drill down on that a bit, I've outlined these three main reasons to market your practice. One, growth. Get noticed, meet new patients. It's that simple. Two, maintenance. You've got to keep in touch. I consider this really the most important because we want to make sure that you're not taking advantage of your core patients. Don't take those folks for granted. They're who made you, who you've built and fostered a relationship with over the years. They're unbelievably important to the health and well-being of your practice long term. And then three is relevance. Industries, yours, mine, are always evolving. We've all got to keep up with the times or risk losing out to our competitors. So tonight we're going to focus mostly on 1 and 2, but know that 3 should be ever present in your marketing efforts. So first off, if you want to grow, to attract new patients, you've got to get noticed. And to do that, you've got to think about what makes you and your practice special. Instead of just, I'm a skilled podiatrist, I'm open, I have a website, come see me, I can work wonders, perhaps consider leaning into a specialty. For example, I have one client who wants to be known as the wart king of the Midwest. Another who's big into sports medicine and competes in Ironman competitions. So we play up that interest. Get specific whenever possible. There are lots of opportunities to stand out on your website, social media channels, hard copy mailings, Google Ads, online reviews, just to name a few. And don't always try to fight fire with fire. So like, for example, if your competition is great on TikTok, maybe let them have TikTok and flex what you're good at. Otherwise, it's likely to reek of inauthenticity anyway, and you won't enjoy yourself doing it. But specificity can be nuanced as well. Here's an example of an ad that we recently ran in Podiatry Management Magazine. Some might think a digital marketing agency like ours is as common and generic as a podiatry practice like yours. They're all the same, right? But here we're leading with personality. What are we saying? We're tired of the old way that many still think about podiatry. With Blue Orchid Marketing, you get innovation, creativity, something fresh and different. In this case, different is actually our specialty. Make sense so far? Yeah, some nods, maybe. All right, so let's get more specific to podiatry. When it comes to launching a new practice, here are a bunch of marketing solutions you're going to want to consider. Logo and brand identity. Think about the look and feel of your practice. Iconography, font treatments, color choices, they all communicate a lot about you. So be clear about what you want to communicate. Print materials. What are you distributing around town to build out your referral network? What, if anything, are you handing out on site to new patients who are coming in? All critically important. Your website. Of course, we're going to want to see a modern, SEO optimized and user-friendly website that represents you. I can't tell you how many DPMs are so meticulous about a patient's on-site user experience. You spend so much time thinking about what folks are going to say, how a patient is going to be greeted, how the waiting room looks, and how you interact with your patients from beginning to the end of their experience. But you can often can run into a problem when you're neglecting or not thinking about that user experience online. This is often your first opportunity to make a lasting impression. So think about what your website says about you and perhaps what you want to be saying about you and your practice. Social media posts and blogs will help you build credibility, develop a voice, and of course, a following, a community online. Local directory listings, you're going to want to claim your Google business profile and ensure the information about you and your practice is up to date and accurate across the web. It's likely if you or other DPMs have worked in other clinics before opening your own practice, that there will be remnants of the past that we want to be doubly sure that if a new patient actually is seeking you out and your new practice, the last thing we want is for them to get the wrong business hours or even worse, the wrong address, so they show up to the wrong place. That's a missed opportunity, obviously. Direct mail, before you have patients to follow up with, you may consider sending what's called an EDDM postcard or every door direct mail. Those are those pieces of marketing collateral you get in the mail at home that might say, Mrs. X or current resident at such and such address. That's when you don't have a local community of home addresses yet in your patient database. And so that's how you might introduce yourself and your practice to your local market before you even have patients to communicate with. And then finally, local press. I encourage you to think about ways to eventize an opening, a grand opening, if you will. Issue a press release. Send it to local publications who might post or print about you, or even attend your opening event if that, was deemed appropriate. A few details worth double-clicking in on. Your website, like I said, presents a major opportunity to stand out. For us, we use a lot of quick loading video on our new websites. I know these are static images, but they're actually brought to life with beautiful, crisp imagery. The motion can promote a really healthy, active lifestyle. It's certainly worth considering whether launching a new practice or renovating an existing one. This is the kind of competition that you're likely going to be up against now moving forward. Social media, if you have the time to build out your content, great, or leave it to professionals like us. We like to consider not just individual posts, but your entire grid on Instagram, for example. You may want to use colors and filters to thematically tie your posts to your branding. It just gives it a more cohesive, thoughtful style and aesthetic. Regarding your local listings, here's an example of a client's Google business profile. Hopefully most of you are familiar with that. You can see that the reviews or testimonials are very conspicuously focused right underneath the name of the practice. So this is a really important opportunity to go out and try to grab positive testimonials on behalf of the practice. And to drive that home even more, here's a simple example that I put together from two different products on Amazon. At face value, these are two inner tubes. They look pretty similar for about the same price. Only one has 20 positive reviews and one has over 17,000 positive reviews. Ultimately, of course, you and each individual can decide which they want to go with, but more often than not, the one with more reviews is actually going to be deemed as the one that's actually superior. Patient reviews are a great way, like I said, to set yourself apart from your competition. This right here on the right-hand side is actually a QR code card. It's the size of a business card that we often create for many of our clients. It's a great tool to garner more positive reviews quickly. All you have to do is literally present a patient who's raving about your services right there on the spot with this card. They take their camera phone, point it right at the QR code. They're taken immediately to wherever we decide is the most optimal place to receive that review. In this case, it's usually your Google business profile. And in many cases, you've scored another positive review before the patient has even left the building. So can't recommend a simple strategy like that enough. Postcards, another great effective tool to help you get noticed in your local community. They say the average household receives only 2 pieces of direct mail per day compared to over 150 emails. So a great way to get noticed and stand out yet again. Shifting gears from launching a new practice, this is intended for more seasoned practices with a healthier patient database. Keeping in touch with your patients throughout the year should definitely be a part of your marketing strategy. I believe a lot of DPMs take their patients for granted and assume that a patient is just going to keep coming in annually because it's been that way for how many years. But that's really not accounting for the new clinic that's just opened across the way that has a whole bunch of bells and whistles and is focusing more on some of these details. So sending monthly touch points and forget-me-nots can be extremely beneficial. 2 important rules to live by: always collect email addresses and make sure more often than not you're delivering value, meaning give without asking for anything in return. Here's one example of a custom e-newsletter that we create for clients every month. We always like to feature articles with relevant patient education, another what we call snackable content that's fun and informative. You can see we have a recipe over here and some historical dates of interest over here. I just had a conversation, funny enough, with a podiatrist earlier today. She's not a client yet, who was complaining about how her patient went to an orthopedist for a service that she also provides. And she was offended by it, but I told her that we can't expect people to know all of the services or the specialties that we provide if we're not promoting those details with consistency. So email is a great economical way to do that. Here are a couple of examples of e-cards that we create and send out for clients, where it says friend over here. That's actually filled in with each patient's name. So it's personalized, which adds another nice little warm and fuzzy. You'd be surprised how much engagement we see from patients who thank the practice and think that when, say, a birthday wish arrives in their inbox, it's actually the DPM, not their agency, who's personalizing these cards. And by the way, we never need the credit for it, but you do. And it goes a long way, especially for older patients. So efforts like these really can build brand loyalty and inspire referrals. If you're adding a new location or doctor, we first recommend considering what you can say about it. Meaning, is this a new location or doctor going to expand just your footprint, or are you also expanding your services or your expertise? Of course, you'll want to update your website and social channels. You want to clean up your listings for the reasons I mentioned earlier. But again, reviews are important, but here's where your practice can really benefit from email marketing to announce your good news to your core patients. I'll share another few examples. Any chance that you have to share a positive update, get your name in a patient's inbox without asking for something in return or inundating them with information, you should absolutely seize it, especially good news. Here's another update. I don't know if Mary Pat is on this call, but this is for her practices. In this case, our client is sharing that one DPM is actually leaving the practice that in some cases, I suppose, could be perceived as a negative, but they're also spinning it into a positive in that they're announcing that they've hired new staff and have also added new services to their offering. So a win all around. If you're looking to target patients with specific conditions to treat, and I know many of you are, here are a few services to focus on. First of which is a personal favorite of mine. I highly recommend considering Google ad campaigns, which can be incredibly profitable. Not sure everyone understands the basic mechanics of Google ads, so I'll kind of go over it briefly. Here are a few examples of Google ads that we're running specifically. They're condition specific. They only show up on Google if someone searches for these kinds of details. Essentially, your ads are tied to specific landing pages on your website where leads click over from Google to your website and then hopefully convert to an appointment. And since the success of your ad is directly tied to your website, you want to make sure that you have multiple opportunities to convert with, say, book an appointment button or something similar throughout that landing page. Like here, you can see 4 different opportunities. One here in the header, 2, 3, 4. 4 different opportunities to book an appointment on this landing page. We want to maximize those opportunities for leads from Google to convert them into patients. Now, understand, Google's job is over as soon as a lead comes from Google's platform to your website. Our job and your budget, however, are not through unless we actually convert a higher percentage of those leads to actually paying patients. We're actually going to come in with an appointment and see you, and hopefully we'll keep them then active for years to come. But that's kind of a critical distinction here, why your website is directly tied to the success of your Google Ads campaigns. And if your Google Ads are not firing on all cylinders for a number of reasons, one of which could be that your website really hasn't been touched and you're sending new leads promoting specific services to a website landing page or pages that are not really fully prioritizing your services as best as they should be. We also suggest promoting your more profitable services right on your homepage. Believe it or not, patients are far savvier than we give them credit for. Including these details sends, in our opinion, a not so subtle message that your practice is investing in the latest technology. No one wants to go to their grandfather's or grandmother's podiatry clinic anymore. We really think that this is an important distinction to make and can be another differentiator from your competition in the market. Email campaigns are also a great way to educate your patient base without upselling a specific technology. In this case, 2 different clinics are explaining the benefits of ePat and Swift. Another way to cut through the clutter is by sending a postcard to your patients at home about the benefits of a treatment option to encourage patients to come in and maybe share that information with a friend. By the way, whenever possible, include a QR code like we do here. There's always going to be a limited amount of space on a hard copy print piece of marketing collateral. However, obviously online, we can include far more details. So if someone's interested in learning more, a QR code is an easy way to save space on that postcard and actually expand on those services or details if someone's interested in reading further. Here's a medical referral focused postcard that this client sent to dermatologists in the hopes of boosting his referrals for plantar wart treatments, for example. So whether you're looking for referrals from patients and or from other professionals, these are some interesting opportunities to kind of seize. You may also want to encourage your patients to refer you to their friends and family, like I just said, and even incentivize them to do so. Here's one client's special promotions that he's offering, including 25% off a bunch of laser nail treatments. So looking for referrals and also pushing a specific service. And lastly, recalls are a terrific way to target condition-specific patients and convert them from inactive to active status. We encourage you to be thinking about kind of promoting your most profitable services. Most of our clients, not surprisingly, are focused on diabetics, recalling heel pain, custom orthotics patients, and then we have typically a catch-all for everything else. Our recalls are 4 steps. They're highly effective. Believe me, I could spend an hour just talking about this topic. It's low-hanging fruit, in my opinion. The recipient or the former patient in this case already recognizes your practice name, the DPM's name. They know who you are, likely even enjoyed your service, but for whatever reason, COVID or otherwise, have fallen away and need that nudge a few times perhaps to, okay, fine, get up and actually make that appointment and buck up and come in to see you. And then once they're in, it's back to nurturing and keeping them as active as possible. If you're not actively recalling inactive patients, I highly suggest that you do so. Here is a simple average client ROI for these efforts. On Blue Orchid's behalf last year, on average, our podiatry clients saw almost $75,000 in return on investment just from email marketing and recalls. It's very black and white. I was explaining this earlier this afternoon. We link into your EMR. We are judging by last visit date. We recall folks who have not been communicated with in, say, 14, 16 months. We mutually agree on a per visit value, and therefore we're able to say, okay, patient X hadn't been in since 2021, and then by their second recall letter that we sent out, they actually came in, and now their last visit date we see is actually June of 2024. Well, great, now that's a win in our column. We multiply the win by the per visit value, we subtract your marketing spend, and there, in plain and simple black and white, is your clear return on investment for that effort. So a really terrific return, like I said, kind of a no-brainer, but would happily explain more in detail if the opportunity presents itself or if you're interested in learning more. So that's a lot of information, and I talk pretty quickly anyway, so I'm going to stop down there. It's really kind of just the tip of the iceberg, so I welcome any questions you may have now or encourage you to take my information and reach out if you'd like to, further discuss your needs with our team. So thank you for that. Nan, you're back in the hot seat.
Awesome. Well, we do have some questions rolling in, and while you guys type in your questions, I missed the information, but I want to capture it again. How many pieces of mail versus email do people get?
157 emails to 2 pieces of marketing collateral at home.
That is insane. And you guys do direct mail campaigns for your clients that want them, right?
For sure, every month, yes.
That's crazy. All right, so let's see what we got here. What strategy would you implement as a brand new podiatry clinic opening in a saturated competitive area that already has established providers? What % of a budget would you allocate to marketing efforts?
So, 2-part question. The marketing budget is complicated. Technically, they suggest that in a service business, you should be looking at 5 to 10% on average of your top line revenue. That's, to be honest, more money than any podiatrist that we're working with actively is willing to commit. But it's those are kind of the blanket numbers there. I can't really say how much you should be spending. I can tell you that on average, most of our clients are spending between, say, $600 or $800 and 2,500 to $3,000. Now, for a launch, that's on a monthly basis. For a launch, you're likely looking at a little bit more than that, especially if you're looking to pump out Google Ads, which is an investment, and you want to try to establish yourself. You might have some upfront costs, like building a website is a different upfront fee than you would require for, say, a hosting and management fee moving forward. Maybe you want to do a blitz with a print marketing campaign that's sending out a whole bunch of postcards to your local market. Might be an upfront cost, especially since you don't have many email addresses yet. So paying for postage and printing costs can be a bit more burdensome upfront. But again, it's an investment in the future of your business, and hopefully you'd like to see yourself, set yourself up for success. As for more specifically, the easier part of the question for me is to focus on what is unique about you, what is special. What I wouldn't recommend is leaning into general practice dumb, where you're just going to potentially be gobbled up by the competition who is perhaps far more established in your local market already. How are you different? What makes you unique? If it's your personality, then I want to see you on your website. I want to see that personality on your social channels. And I want you getting out and trying to grab some media attention. Perhaps that's, focusing on local PR and events and getting out into the community. If more likely, personality isn't necessarily what we're going to lead with, we want to see what is your specialty. Don't forget, price point can be a specialty. Quality can be a specialty. It's what angle do you want to play? How do you want people to feel when they come into your practice? Is this a fancy, shishi, high-end Madison Avenue experience? Even if you're, down south or in the Midwest, that might further differentiate yourself from some of the competition. Furthermore, perhaps you have technology that you want to lead with and, build out your referral network that way. That's a mouthful, but truthfully, and I can't really say that it's a one size fits all, at least not at Blue Orchid. We want to get pretty specific to what makes you tick, what's unique and special about you, and amplify those messages.
Awesome. Okay. What is the best way to sell more out-of-pocket services, such as lasers, shockwave therapy, and inserts?
Sure. So more often than not, for us, it's Google Ads. It's cast a net focused on those specific services so that folks who are looking for those services are the only folks who are going to actually be served those ads. That's kind of perhaps I glazed over it too quickly, but that's kind of at the crux of what's special about a Google ad. We're fine-tuning with keywords and negative keywords and identifying exactly the kind of patient profile that you want to attract. And therefore, once those ads get set up, we're trying to ensure that only prospective patients who are actually typing in those keywords or those details into their Google search are actually going to come up and then see your ad and then hopefully come over to your website and actually, commit to a preliminary appointment. So more than anything else, I find that pushing those profit forward services through Google Ads is really efficient as far as a budget goes.
All right. Now we've had lots of conversations about this. At podiatrymeetings.com, we believe that you shouldn't hold any secret hostage, that you try and share your wealth of information. And I know you share that same belief. So while we're talking
100%.
about Google Ads,
Yeah.
Google Ads is so intimidating and scary. So, what would be your base level number one piece of advice to give to people just getting started who aren't using an agency like Blue Orchid Marketing?
That's a loaded question. I certainly have no special sauce that I'm looking to hold back. I honest to God would say that this is a full-time job that requires at least a whole lot of know-how and experience. So be cautious if you're dipping a toe into the water yourself. I would say you can set a maximum daily spend. And by the way, multiply that out for the month so that you know exactly what you're committing to, because perhaps, 20 bucks a day doesn't sound that crazy, but actually if you maximize that and start spending every day throughout the month, you might find yourself surprised or disappointed at the end of the month. I would also say beware that Google has now gotten hyper vigilant about inserting themselves into the process. And you and I were just talking about this before we started. I get called, my team gets called almost every day by a Google representative introducing themselves, suggesting that they know better than you do, or that we do in this case, and that if you just give them the reins, they will help you make more money. And more often than not, we've found that that also means that they can help you spend a lot more money with Google. So the more money you spend with Google, perhaps you could see more return as a result. But I mean, we have clients who now we're managing their ads, who Google was originally managing their ads, and they were overspending at like 5,000 plus dollars a month. And that's more than 5 times what our average client is spending on Google. So I would say be careful, uh, dip a toe in gently, and be mindful of not overspending, and raise your hand and ask for help. And we will happily connect with you, talk about, the good, the bad, the otherwise, and give you tips and tricks and anything that we can without managing your ads until you feel comfortable either winning on your own or, passing that responsibility on to a professional.
So, someone could get started with Google Ads with you guys for relatively inexpensive, just a few $100s a month. It's not like a
Correct.
huge investment, right?
That's right. Although we are very clear about differentiating between you're spending money on a platform. So there are really, for us, it's two different fees. There's a management fee that we're charging to manage your ads, create your ads, rewrite keywords, negative keywords, and optimize those campaigns. Obviously, that's also tied to conversion tracking on your website, so we can ensure that all of that is working properly. That's just a straight up nominal management fee. The bulk of that spend on a monthly basis is actually going to Google. So we're putting a credit card number of yours into your Google account. We'll, of course, pre-qualify what the budget is that you want to spend or range, and be sure to not overspend. However, yeah, it's most of, just like radio ads, billboards, television, etc. Most of your money isn't going to an agency to come up with the creative or to manage your efforts. It's really to grab those eyeballs on Google in this case.
Yeah. Um, I mean, no busy practice owner, physician has time to learn all of this, especially because it changes all the time. So this is where having a marketing agency like Blue Orchid really comes in handy, because you don't have to spend all your time spinning your wheels and testing out new things and staying on top of trends. You've got professionals who are going to do it for you.
For sure. And you know what, Anne, honestly, starting out, a DPM might have the time. And that's great. And we're totally encouraging of that. Honestly, we have clients who have like wanted to build their own websites and or started with, a simple presence and then have evolved in time. I love working with a new practice. I love the idea of working with someone who's not necessarily stuck in a way like, well, this is the way that it's always been done. And hopefully I'm encouraged by the folks who have shown up tonight who suggest that they are still open to thinking outside the box, new and different ways of presenting your practice and how to service your clients moving forward. So yes, if you want to start small and grow with us and us with you, then that's ideal for us.
All right, here's another question for you. Which social media channel works best for podiatry at the moment?
I'll spin that as well. The social media channel that works best for podiatry will be the one that you are most willing to invest your time and efforts in addition to any agency that's supporting your efforts. So if you've got a personality, a big, fun, boisterous personality, I would say lean into the more dynamic video focused content, whether it's reels on Instagram, whether you've got TikTok going. Otherwise, if you kind of want to stay a bit safer, then Instagram and Facebook are still ideal. X is a big question mark and continues to be. If you are a wordsmith and like engaging on that platform, then I would encourage you to focus your efforts there, and we will support those endeavors and lean in as well. But social media in general, especially if it's going to move the needle and get you real attention, it requires personalization. It requires that touch from DPMs and their team on site to get in front of the camera phone, shoot little videos, and or share out stills from products or services or before and afters or whatever is of interest to you. We can help you and certainly inspire you and give you prompts, but there isn't a tried and true, oh, this Facebook is the way to go when it comes to podiatry. And anyone who tells you that is not really, I don't think, thinking broad enough.
Well, I like what you said about it's whatever one you choose to do. And I can attest to that. Sarah and I manage our own social media, which is cumbersome. And that's why we decided to only focus on Facebook for now. We have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have all the other things, but they're basically just placeholders now until we get a good following on Facebook and can work being consistent into our regular schedule. So being consistent is really important.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Just to kind of piggyback on that for a second, what I really would advise against is don't try to be everywhere or all things for all people. If worse than only having one channel that you're participating on and active in is saying that you're doing a lot, and then I go to your Facebook page to see what your latest post is, and it's from 2020. That to me, or blogs kind of fall under that category too, by the way. If you have a blog section of your website and you haven't posted a new blog in countless months, take it off, hide it, minimize it, don't draw attention to it. You think perhaps that those efforts are you're checking a box or you're doing the right thing, but ultimately the message you're really sending to patients and prospects is, yeah, I'm not following through. I'm not doing everything that I should be. And that's, perhaps that's an extreme, but ultimately that kind of is what that means, right? I'm saying I'm doing something and I'm not really doing it, or I haven't done it lately, or I've let it lag. And so I don't think that that's really the best message that you want to relay to anyone about your business.
Absolutely. How many times must a potential new patient receive a postcard before they actually call to make an appointment?
You know what? I've heard you need to touch someone 3, 4, 5 times before you actually make a real impression and lead someone to convert. But I can tell you from my own experience, there really isn't an exact science. We we employ and take advantage of most, if not all, of the marketing solutions that we share out for our clients, many of which I talked about tonight. We could send out a postcard to a group of folks that has a very specific message on it, and nothing will come from it. Maybe it will eventually. Maybe that will have, been tacked up onto the a bulletin board until someone's really looking to rethink their marketing efforts. And similarly, I can send out the exact same creative to a different market and see, calls coming in from that active lead. So there really isn't an exact science when it comes to marketing in general. You saw we take out ads in podiatry management. Someone today told me that they read about us in podiatry management, but we could go many months without certainly ever hearing, caught that ad, that's why I called. It's really about focusing on not just doing something for a month or two. You can try different things, but keep trying. Keep moving that marketing budget around and thinking about how to be creative, different, unique, and really stand out.
Yeah. Marketing is definitely more of an art than a science. And I find it interesting that you were able to, come up with a dollar value. And obviously I see how you got there with the PVV and all of that. But generally marketing is hard to say like, oh, we spent $7,000 this month and we got $10,000 in return. You can't quantify it like that. It's really tough.
For sure. Absolutely. That's why it's really nice when you can quantify it, when it can be that black and
Yeah.
white. That's extra special. But yeah, if social media, local directory listings, your reputation management, it'll be really tough to quantify, wow, I have this many positive Google reviews, and that's what made all the difference. What
Right.
what you can trust is that others, these aren't secrets, like you said, right? Like I'm not holding back any special sauce. So other folks, your competition, our competition is likely taking advantage of some or all of these details and maybe dreaming up new ones as we are. So just being aware that these tools are out there to take advantage of, I find inspiring, but also I'm sure for all of you can feel overwhelming too. It's, oh God, now I need, motion graphics on my website and I need to be doing all these things. And well, what if I can't see a direct return on investment for all of these efforts? It's complicated. That's why you got to take it step by step and ideally work with a creative partner who is helping to hold your hand and partner with you along the way.
Absolutely. Is there a good book that you recommend we read to help us better understand marketing our podiatry practice?
I really don't have a great book for you. I'm trained to always say yes and here it is, or yes and I'd love to read it to you, but I hope you don't have time to read it anyway.
I I love books. I wish I had time to read more books to
Me
the
too.
end. But as far as marketing in podiatry, I don't know that there's really one, but certainly any of the marketing books by Simon, is it Sinek?
Mm.
Sinek,
Yep.
that's his
Yep.
last name. Anyways,
Yep.
his marketing books are really good. I always find them inspiring. Um, all right,
Truthfully, Anne, I like reading about marketing in other industries because I find that you can kind of pick up tricks to the trade that are easily transferable. Like you're suggesting, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a podiatry focused marketing book that really speaks to you. But certainly, you know, we're all writing articles and trying to share out our tips and tricks along the way. So hopefully some of that's of value too.
yeah, absolutely. Besides not being present online and doing no marketing or being in a specific niche, What other big mistakes do you see podiatrists make in marketing?
I would say anyone who continues to ask, why bother? This will suffice is likely giving up. I mean, I'm finding, I mentioned that we really enjoy talking to the younger prospects who then become clients who are actually growing a new podiatry practice from the ground up. But there's a real emerging trend. Like I said, I was on this call with this DPM earlier this afternoon, who's based in Fairfield County, who was mentioning to me that she never had to do a thing, and now she's finally feeling the pressure. She's finally feeling like she's losing some market share that used to be so easy. And I think before you're, waiting to retire or sell your practice or join a super group or exit in some, major fashion, it's important to really keep those profits up. Of course, not just for you, but to retain the value of this asset that you've grown and developed over time. So just that's a long-winded way of saying, don't take your efforts and your active base for granted. We all have choices today, right? We go on Amazon, we go on Google. In an instant, there is every competitor at your fingertips to just choose instead. And as soon as we're presented with an opportunity like, oh, that's a pretty postcard. Oh, maybe I should go to them instead. Oh, well, wow, look at that website. Or wow, this technology, or they're treating this condition. I have this condition. I'm sure, if that's your patient, you're likely, tearing your hair out saying, I don't understand. I do those things, or I can do that also. But perhaps you're not really what used to work, or you're not really putting your best foot forward anymore. And so I think it's important to keep an open mind and evolve. It's scary for all of us, but I encourage you to take baby steps in that direction. Oh, I got a heart for that. I'll take it.
I love it. I love it. All right, those are all of our questions that have come in. We're going to put this recording up in our archive so you can watch it again. It takes us a few days to do that, but it'll be up there soon, and that's on our webinars page in the archive section. We do have another webinar coming up on the 17th of June from Nicole Friels. She's going to talk to us about seamlessly incorporating over-the-counter orthotics into your practice. Shaun, is there anything else? Any last-minute final pearls of wisdom from you and the Blue Orchid marketing team?
Just that we're here to help answer questions. We're not here at the ready to charge a credit card. We really want to be here for you in partnership for the long haul. So please do jot down my number if you haven't already. It's 203-746-5901. My email is Shaun, SHAUN, at blueorchidmarketing.com. I'd love to chat with you and get a bit more specific about who you are, what your goals are, and how we can help you not just meet, but exceed those expectations.
Awesome. Are you going to be on the road anytime soon? Where can we see you guys at trade shows?
I'm happy to be off the road for a little while, at least for the next couple of months. So I have
I hear you.
a young baby at home, and I'm here in the office every day. But we're taking the summer off, and then we'll be back hitting it hard this fall. So
Good. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Thanks everyone for being with us this evening. Like I said, you can catch this recording later on this week, and feel free to email or reach out to Shaun with any other questions you have. Thank you very much, Shaun, for being here tonight. We really appreciate you.
thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.
Okay. Good night.